Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. So, I like this episode. I did. It wasn't super crazy, super over the top, but for the most part, I did really enjoy it. So, I'm going to sit there and start with Gwen and Jack because Ray found Ray found Gwen on the ground, took her to the hospital, and they wound up running into Xander and Sarah. They stayed with her in the room. She seemed like she was going to be okay, a little banged up or whatever. Jack eventually gets down there, and Jack is worried, but he's happy that she's alive and that she's woke and everything like that. And when Gwen was like, who would sit there and do something like that? Jack remember had a conversation earlier with Jen as far as her driving around and driving by the police station because she wants to sit there and check on the Clyde case. And that's when Jack knew. That's when Jack was like, he knew that there was a good possibility that Jennifer hit Gwen. Because when, Jack was sitting there talking to Jen, she seemed like she was kind of out of it on the top of the fact that, she's been using pills for who knows how long at this point. So now he's like, do I say something probably? Or do I just keep quiet? Most likely he's obviously going to keep quiet. Until Gwen remembers who hit her. Then I have a theory. Okay, I have a theory that Gwen is going to use Jennifer to get back Xander. She's going to sit there and blackmail Gwen. I mean, she's going to blackmail Jennifer. And be like, listen, I'll keep my mouth shut if you help me get back Xander. I feel like that's a good possibility. I feel like that's a good possibility. Now, while Julie was there talking to Jen and being like, listen, I love you, and you should have came to me, and this, that, and the third. Listen, it's horrible what happened to Jennifer. Okay, the worst thing that can happen to a parent is for them to outlive their child. That's the worst thing that can happen to a parent. With that being said, Jennifer could have wound up taking somebody else's daughter out. Somebody else could have lost their daughter, their son, because she decided to drive under the influence. And I don't know. She actually she pissed me off. Okay, there's no easy way to sit there and say she pissed me off because yes, it's terrible what happened to her. But when you make a decision to sit there and get behind a wheel, and start taking something, start drinking something, whatever it is, it's a certain level of selfishness that I can't forgive. Even with the situation being what it is with with Jennifer, it still just bothers me. EJ and Chad. So after EJ shoots Clyde in the back and saves Chad, they're both just standing there watching watching Clyde bleed out, and Clyde is like, "No, you gotta sit there and do something. You gotta call someone." Even I laughed, and it was like, "Yo, you hear something?" I ain't anything. It sounds like the wind to me. I thought it was a really great scene watching their banter, and probably my favorite scene of this episode was watching um, them become brothers again. Because with EJ, he's blaming himself. He's kicking himself because he felt like if he would have said something earlier, Abby might still be alive. But here's the thing, though: you can play what if all day long, and at the end of the day, unless you have a crystal ball, you're not going to know what's going to end up happening. He was in a very impossible situation with him and Orpheus. That if he said anything, that something can happen to one of his loved ones. And who's to sit there and say if you would have turned them in earlier, something still wouldn't wind up happening to them, you know? But Chad was like, listen, we both made mistakes. And Chad was grateful that he saved his life. So they shaked on it and they became brothers again, and they laughed, and it was just a really good scene because again, this is a really crappy situation. Um, and I understand where Chad is coming from, but at the end of the day, I feel like maybe after being having his life saved, you kind of realize if he was put in that situation, what would he do? Either way, it was a great scene. Um, now of course, Clyde is going to act like he didn't do anything wrong and he didn't say anything to both Sean and Jack when he came in there. He's like, oh, what are you doing? What are you talking about? And of course, he tried to provoke Jack so this way he can make whatever sort of self-defense case or some sort of defense case um, a lot easier. I'm going to be honest. I'm surprised that they didn't kill him off. But to be fair, they've been putting Jan Spears in like every 5 to 10 years. So of course they're probably not going to sit there and kill off Clyde. And the more I look at it, the more it does make sense because I know a lot of people were not happy. DC was meant to talk about he wasn't happy that Clyde wasn't, that Clyde was the killer. Given everything that he just got out of jail, he just found love, he made up with his son, he has a grandson, he has a lot to lose. But again, because he has so much to lose, the one thing that I did sit there and say was if his back was against the wall, that's the only time I can see him doing it. Killing someone. It was either that or accidental. And clearly this guy's back was against the wall, so he did what he felt he needed to do. Granted, I'm not saying that that's right. I'm just saying, as far as motivation is concerned, that's why he did it. Hell, even Bella feels partly responsible. She's the one that dragged the truth out of EJ. And, she wasn't there. And I don't know. I feel like she's blaming herself as well. And of course, Sean is pissed off at EJ. But again, it's one of those woulda, coulda, shoulda situations that, I'm like, bro. I mean, granted, I get your wife was in danger, but it wasn't that long ago that you did what you did, and your wife is now just starting to forgive you. Let's not sit there and start trying to play the blame game with, oh, you should have did this, you should have did that. Like, no, bro, ain't nobody's not trying to hear all that. Okay? Because you should have been honest. Okay? You should have been honest about what happened with Jan Spears. So you need to just I feel like that's about it for the most part. Like I said, Xander and Sarah didn't really do too much. They were just kind of there. And I mean, granted, it was a nice scene with Julie as far as her, helping out Jennifer. Apparently, she moved back into that house the first time to sit there and take care of Jennifer. So it was a nice little scene with those two. It was just very hard for me to sit there and get past the fact that she drove, inebriated. Yeah. Again, I can't get past that, but that's just my personal opinion. And I feel like that's about it. So with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe, and I will see you in the next video.